What's up, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to make this little animation here. Have a carbon atom fly in, electrons spin around, and fly out. Just a simple little animation with no video, just solids and textures, fly in and fly out. Pretty cool. First thing, of course, you're going to have to do is make a new composition. And I'm going to call that final. I'm doing that just a 1280 by 720 comp, 5 seconds long. Next, I'm going to import my texture. So I'll find where my texture is and import it. And the cool thing about textures is there's so many out there that are free and available to you for free. There's websites like lostandtaken.com and bitbox.com. And just every day giving away cool textures for free. It's a very cool resource. And this is where I found my texture. This texture is at lostandtaken.com. Just a cool paper texture. First thing that we're going to do after we've imported our texture is we'll put our texture in our final composition. And it needs to be scaled up just a little bit there. Next, we want to create our atom in front of the texture. So we'll go to, we'll right click in the composition, go to New Solid, and we'll keep that black. If we go up to our mask tool and go to the ellipse tool, so the circle mask, and we go right to the center of the solid, click down, and if you hold down Command, it centers it, the creation of the circle mask. And if you hold Shift, then it also makes it uniform. So holding down Command and Shift, you make this nice little circle. Bring it out to about right there. And we're going to put an effect on this circle now. And we're going to go to Generate Stroke. So we're going to put a stroke on it. We'll change that also to black. And brush size up to 3. And hardness all the way. You don't see it yet because the stroke is the same color as the circle, but if we go to paint style on transparent, that basically makes the stroke the only thing visible, and it makes the solid transparent, so we just see the stroke there. We're going to just repeat the process, so new solid and another black one. Go to our mask tool, right in the middle again, click down and then hold Command and Shift. Bring it out to about right there. And then again we'll go to our effect, Generate Stroke. Can't see that, so let me go over here, Generate Stroke, there we go. And we will pick black again. And we'll go 3 again with the brush size and hardness all the way. Paint style on transparent, and we've got a couple of nice shells there for our atom so far, but we have to make the nucleus still, so new solid, and we'll make this kind of a dark red, and up to our mask tool right in the center, click it, Command and Shift, and right about there. Looks like it's not entirely in the center, so we'll put it right there. Okay, now we've got our nucleus and our 2 outer shells. Next thing that we'll do, well, let's add a C into that nucleus, since it is a carbon atom. Make sure no one's confused. Okay, move these down here. I'm going to name this my outer shell. And I'm going to name this my inner shell. Just to rename layers, you just click on the layer and hit Enter, and then you can rename it. And I'll name this Nucleus. Now what we want to do is create our electrons on our shells. So we'll go again to a new solid, same color red, and we will go to the center again, hold Command and Shift. Actually, what will be easier is Control Z that. If we just take our nucleus, click on it, and hit Command C and Command V, and we'll paste it. Then we'll rename it Electron. And move that up here. So we've got two copies of the same circle, just renamed one Electron. So now I'm going to zoom in and scale this down to something like right there. Place it on the path of the shell. I'm going to open up the scale and the position. You do that just by hitting S and P. And by hitting S and P, you open up the scale and position in your layer there. And I'm going to hit a keyframe for the position right there. Go all the way to the end and move the position of the electron down the line. Now, if you look right now, that obviously doesn't follow the path of the shell. So a way to fix that is by grabbing onto the Bezier tool right here on the path, on the position path, and bending that so that it fits the line perfect there. Now what's happening right here, if you notice, these lines, these keyframes create marks with something called auto Bezier. It kind of automatically bends it. And we want to take that off for this bend right here. So if we go to this keyframe, right click, and you can't see it, but if you go down a little bit, there's Keyframe Interpolation. Click on Keyframe Interpolation, go here to Spatial Interpolation, and click on Linear. And by clicking that to Linear, that makes that keyframe linear, not auto Bezier. And then you can adjust this accordingly. And there, it's kind of perfectly going on the path. All right, so let's do that essentially 5 more times. We'll click on the nucleus, copy paste, rename it Electron, bring it up here, position and scale. And we want to get the scale the same as the other one. So we'll go down here and do 33. Take that electron and let's put it right about here. Do the position keyframe, go to the end. Oops. Grab that, bring it over. Adjust our Bezier. Adjust our interpolation to linear. And there we go, we got a nice path for 2 so far. So we just do it again. Copy paste. Electron. Position and scale. 33 for our scale. And let's bring this right about there. Keyframe that position. Go to the end. Let's move it to right there. And make sure, oops, that this keyframe, the interpolation is also at linear. And adjust that. There we go. One more for the outer shell. Copy paste the nucleus. Make that 33. I'm going to put that there. Actually, gosh, I can't get a handle on this. Okay, there we go. I'm actually going to put it over here. And we'll keyframe this position, go all the way over here, and put it right about there. Make sure interpolation is on linear. And there we go. We've got the outer shell taken care of. They're not perfectly, sort of spaced out, but it's important to kind of keep it random and not super super perfect, because then it doesn't look as real. Obviously, it doesn't look like a real atom, but you know what I mean. Looking too perfect can sometimes take away from how cool something looks. So the outer shell is done. Let's do the inner shell. Those are just 2 electrons for the carbon atom. So we'll copy paste. Rename this electron. And make that the same scale as the other ones. Put this right here. Keyframe that position. Move it across. Adjust our interpolation. There we are. One more here, finally. And bring our scale down. Keyframe that position. Maybe right there. Go to the end and have that go down to there. Grab the Bezier handle. Adjust our interpolation. And there we go. Now if we preview that, just to make sure how it looks. It's looking good to me. All right, the next part we want to do is animate our camera move. So we need a camera for that, obviously, first. But before we do that, we want to pre-comp all of these layers into 3D layers. So what we'll do is we'll take all of the layers of the outer shell, the outer shell itself, and then the electrons, and we'll go to Layer, Pre-compose, and we'll do outer shell. And then we'll take all the elements of the inner shell, Layer, Pre-compose, inner shell. We'll take the nucleus, Layer, Pre-compose, nucleus. Make these 3D. Okay. And then we add our camera. So we'll go to Layer, New Camera, 35mm. Hit OK. And we'll begin our animation. We'll start at about 15 seconds. Open up all of the transform options in the camera. Hit keyframes for all those. And then we'll go back to the 0 point. And we'll move this. Oops. Forgot to make our texture 3D. Okay. So go back to the beginning and we'll move all of this up here. And through these camera controls you can do tracking XY or track Z. We were just tracking XY, moving the position. Now we'll track Z and kind of push into it a little bit. Okay, so that's kind of the movement right there. I'm going to go a little more drastic. So we'll go back to XY, bring it up, and a little more in. Okay. And then what we're going to do is take these keyframes, the ones at 0, and using Keyframe Assistant, if you go all the way down to the bottom, you can select Easy Ease Out. So it kind of eases out of the animation. And then for these keyframes, we want to do Keyframe Assistant Easy Ease In, so it eases in to the animation. Just makes the animation a little bit more more realistic and smoother. We also want to add our motion blur. Turn that on by clicking this button here, and then we'll turn the layers on for motion blur, so that when it's moving you can see the motion blur there. What I also like to do when I use camera is kind of add a little bit of a shake, kind of adds a little bit of realism. And how to do that is by adding wiggle to certain parameters of the camera. If you alt-click position, it'll bring up the dialog box here. And if you hit wiggle in parentheses, the first number is going to be how many times a second that you move the parameter. So we'll do 1 times per second, comma, the next number is going to be the amount that you wiggle. So we'll do that 5. Then we're going to go to orientation, alt-click that as well, do the same type of thing, wiggle. And for that one though, we'll do half. Actually, no, we'll do that every second as well, but we're only going to have it adjusted every second, the amount of 1.5. And that adds just kind of a nice little camera shake. Let's preview that and I can show you. As it moves down, you can kind of see it move back and forth and in and out a little bit. Just kind of adds a little bit of a realistic camera movement there. A little bit of a shake. So we got our move in, now we just need to zoom out of it, or zoom into it rather. Let's go to about 315 and select all of these keyframes, all the transform keyframes. Okay. Go to about 4 seconds, go back to our track Z tool, and zoom completely in. Do the same thing where we make these keyframes easy ease out, and this keyframe easy ease in to add that smoothness. Now right here at this point, we don't want to see anything anymore. So I'll go to a new solid, make that black, hit T for the opacity, hit the keyframe at 100, go to the frame before and go to 0. So that way, as soon as we hit right there and we don't want to see it, we'll just go to black. Okay? Okay, so let's preview that, see what we think here. Just got one more thing to do, actually a couple more things to do, and then we'll be set. We're almost there. I think it's looking pretty good. It's looking quite good. Okay. Moving in there, and then we zoom out. Sweet. Okay. Next, we want to take the texture and separate it a little bit from the atom. So we'll take the Z and just push it back, just to kind of spatially get it a little bit away from the atom. Next, we'll take the shells and animate their rotation to kind of add some 3D effect to them. So by hitting R on the outer shell, you bring up the orientation, which adjusts the rotation in 3D layers, specifically the Y portion. If you see when I move the Y portion, it kind of moves in and out like that. Pretty cool. So we'll go to the beginning here and make this 25, keyframe that. Go right at the end here for, see, black. Go the opposite way, 25 worth, so we'll go 335. 360 minus 25 is 335. Then we'll do the same thing with the inner shell. Hit R, go to rotation, except the other way, because we want it to start opposite of the outer shell. So we'll go 335 rather, keyframe that, go to the end, and 25. And here you've got shells that kind of start rotated and then they move in a sort of gyroscopic way as the animation goes through. It's pretty cool. And that looks good. Alright, we are almost set. We're going to do one last thing just to add a little bit of extra oomph to this animation. Take all of these layers and pre-compose them. So layer, pre-compose. We'll do final pre-comp. Make that a 3D layer and add a light new light. Go to the light options. I'm going to move this light back a little bit. Change the angle from 90 degrees. Maybe a little bit closer. Change it to about 150 degrees there. Bring up the intensity just a little bit there to maybe about 120. And then I'm also going to do our wiggle trick. Alt-click on intensity so that we get a little bit of flicker on that light. So every second it'll flicker the amount of 8. Okay. Then I'm going to do a new solid, completely black. Go up to a circle mask tool, center click, command click, and you've got it right there in the center. And we'll have it be right about there, and we'll actually make this subtract, a subtractive mask. Bring up the feather all the way to 1000. That's the highest it'll go. And we'll actually change the mode to overlay. So that adds kind of a cool burning effect here on the edges. And bring the opacity just a little bit down. Okay, let's see how that looks. I think I'm going to take the black down just a little bit. Let's see how that looks. Cool. And there you have it. Just a cool little animation of a carbon atom. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It was very enjoyable for me, I must say. Alright, thanks for tuning in, guys. Catch you later.